The glass was on the counter when my legs started hurting again. I could see it from where I sat in the living room, just past the doorway, sitting there with a little water still in it from this morning. The rim caught the afternoon light coming through the window. I remember noticing that. How something so ordinary could look almost pretty when the sun hit it right. My knee had been swelling since Tuesday. 3 days of that deep ache that starts in the joint and spreads down into your calf. The kind that makes you hold your breath when you stand up. I had been sitting in that chair since lunch, trying not to move it too much. I thought about getting up to reach the glass myself. I even put my hands on the armrests and started to push up. But the pain shot through so sharp I had to sit back down. That is when I called for her. The air conditioner was running loud. One of those old units that rattles when it kicks on. I had to raise my voice just to be heard over it. I called out twice before she came around the corner. I did not know then that this would be the last time I asked her for anything. Her face already looked annoyed before I said a word. She had that expression she got sometimes. Mouth tight, eyes flat, like whatever I was about to say was going to waste her time. I kept my voice polite. I said my leg was bothering me and asked if she could bring me some water. I even pointed toward the kitchen, so she would know I meant the glass that was already there. That I was not asking her to do much. She stood there for a second with her hand on her hip, just looking at me. And I remember thinking how strange it was that silence could feel so loud. Then she said it. "Get up and get it yourself, you useless old woman." Her voice was not even angry. That is what I remember most. It was flat, matter of fact, like she had been thinking it for a long time, and was just now saying it out loud. The words hung there in the air between us. I did not move. I just sat there looking at her, waiting for her to laugh maybe, to say she was joking, to say something that would make it not real. But she just turned and walked back toward the kitchen. My son was in the hallway. I know he heard her because he stopped walking. I could see his shadow on the wall. He was standing right there, just on the other side of the doorway, close enough to hear every word. I waited for him to come into the room, to say something, to tell her that was not how we spoke to each other in this house. But he did not come. I heard his footsteps go toward the bedroom. Slow, deliberate, like he was giving himself time to pretend he had not heard. Then I heard the door close. The house got very quiet after that. Just the sound of the air conditioner rattling, and my own breathing, and the feeling of something breaking that I could not name yet. I sat there looking at the glass on the counter. It was maybe 15 feet away. 15 feet that suddenly felt impossible. My hands were shaking, but I was not crying. I was thinking about how long it had been since I felt like I lived in my own house. 3 years maybe. Maybe longer. You stop counting after a while. The days just fold into each other until you cannot remember when things changed. I tried to remember the last time my son looked me in the eye when he spoke to me. Really looked at me. Not past me or through me. I could not remember. That scared me more than anything his wife had said. If you are still here, thank you for listening so patiently. My name is Dorothy. I am 67 now. Some memories do not come all at once. They return slowly. Usually when someone is kind enough to listen. If you would like to hear the rest of the stories when they find their way back, you can stay with me here. And before we go on, tell me something quietly. Have you ever stayed silent when you should have spoken up? I got up eventually. My knee made a sound when I stood. A small pop that I felt more than heard. I did not let myself wince. I did not want to give her the satisfaction of seeing me hurt. I walked to the kitchen slowly, one step at a time, putting my weight on my good leg, and then shifting. The tile floor was cold under my feet. I had been meaning to ask my son to fix the heating vent in here, but I kept forgetting. Or maybe I kept not asking. There was a difference. I filled the glass at the sink. The water ran warm at first. Nobody had used the tap in a while. I let it run until it got cold. Then I drank it standing there. All of it. Even though I was not that thirsty anymore. When I turned around, she was leaning against the wall near the staircase, scrolling through her phone. Her face lit up blue from the screen. She did not look up. Did not acknowledge I was there. I walked past her back to the living room. Sat down in the same chair. The cushion still had the impression from where I had been sitting. Like the chair was the only thing that remembered I existed. The pain in my leg felt worse now, but I did not say anything. I just looked out the window at the street. It was April in Charlotte. The trees were starting to bloom. Little white flowers on the dogwood in the front yard. I used to love this time of year. My husband and I planted that tree the spring after we moved in. 1992. He dug the hole, and I held the sapling steady while he filled it back in with soil. He said someday we would sit on the porch and watch it grow taller than the house. He did not live to see that. But the tree did grow. And I did sit on that porch. Just not the way we planned. I wondered what he would think if he could see me now. Sitting in the house we bought together. Being called useless by a woman we let move in. Watching our son walk away like he did not hear it. That night I did not eat dinner with them. I could hear them in the kitchen. The sound of plates being set down. Silverware clinking. Her voice talking about something she saw online. My son laughing at whatever it was. His laugh sounded relaxed. Easy. Like nothing had happened. Like his mother had not been called useless in her own home just a few hours before. I lay in bed that night with the lights off, and thought about the year we bought this house. 1991. I was 32. My husband had just started his job with the school district. We had been saving for 6 years. Living in a tiny apartment on the east side. Eating the same meals every week. Skipping vacations. Putting every extra dollar into the account we kept at the credit union. The day we closed on the house I cried. Not sad crying. Happy crying. The kind that comes from relief. From finally having something that was yours. The first night we slept here I remember lying awake just listening. The way the walls settled. The sound of the refrigerator humming in the kitchen. The creak of the floorboards when you walked down the hallway. It felt like the house was breathing with us. Now it felt like I was a guest who had stayed too long. I did not sleep much. Around 4 in the morning I got up and made myself some tea. I sat at the kitchen table in the dark with my hands wrapped around the cup. Just feeling the warmth. Listening to the house settle. That is when I decided. I did not decide everything right then. But I decided I could not keep living like this. Like I was disappearing a little more every day. Like I was supposed to be grateful for being allowed to exist in the house I paid for. At 7 I called my lawyer. His name was Mr. Brennan. I had not spoken to him in almost 2 years. Not since I updated my will after my husband passed. He answered on the 3rd ring. His voice was warm. Professional but kind. He remembered me right away. Asked how I was doing. I told him I needed to talk about my house. About some documents I signed 3 years ago. He was quiet for a second. Then he said he could see me that afternoon. I got dressed carefully. Put on the blue blouse my sister gave me for Christmas. The nice shoes I only wore to church. I wanted to feel like myself again. Like someone who mattered. The bus ride downtown took 40 minutes. I had not been on a bus in a long time. My son used to drive me everywhere. To the grocery store. To the doctor. To visit my sister in Colombia. Then his wife started coming with us. Sitting in the front seat. Changing the radio station. Talking the whole time. Making comments about how I took too long in the store. How I needed too many appointments. How I always wanted to stop somewhere on the way home. After a while my son stopped offering to drive me. Said he was too busy. Said I should take the bus if I needed to go somewhere. Said it was good for me to be independent. So I stopped going places. Mr. Brennan's office was on the 8th floor of a building near Trade Street. The waiting room had dark wood paneling and chairs with green leather cushions. It smelled like coffee and old paper and something else I could not name. Something that smelled like important things being decided. He came out to get me himself. Shook my hand gently. His grip was firm but not too tight. Like he understood I was fragile but did not want to treat me like I was broken. We sat in his office. He had a big wooden desk with neat stacks of folders on it. Pictures of his family on the credenza behind him. A window that looked out over the city. I told him what happened the day before. The glass. The insult. My son in the hallway. The sound of his footsteps walking away. Then I told him about the other things. The small comments that had been building for 3 years. The way my son stopped meeting my eyes when his wife spoke to me. The way I started eating dinner in my room because it was easier than sitting at the table. The way rooms got quiet when I walked into them. The way I felt like I was disappearing. Mr. Brennan listened without interrupting. He had a yellow legal pad in front of him, but he did not write anything down. He just listened. His face did not change. Did not show pity or shock or judgment. Just attention. When I finished, he nodded slowly. Then he asked if I remembered signing the quitclaim deed 3 years ago. I did remember. My son had brought it to me one evening. Summer. July maybe. He came after dinner with a folder full of papers. Said it was just paperwork to make things easier. Said if something happened to me it would help avoid all the legal trouble. Avoid probate. Avoid fighting. Make things simple. He said I would still live there as long as I wanted. Said nothing would change. Said it was just on paper. His wife stood behind him nodding. She was nicer back then. Or maybe she just hid it better. Maybe she was already thinking what she thought yesterday. Maybe she was just waiting for the right time to say it. I signed where he pointed. Did not read the whole thing. It was 6 pages of legal language that I did not understand. My son said that was normal. Said it always looked more complicated than it was. I trusted him. That is what you do with your children. You trust them. Mr. Brennan asked if I understood what I was signing. I told him the truth. I did not. Not really. I just trusted my son when he said it was for the best. He was quiet for a moment. Then he explained what a quitclaim deed was. He said it transferred ownership of the house to my son. Said legally it was his house now. Not mine. He owned it. I just lived there. He said the words gently. But they still hurt. I asked if there was anything I could do. He said there might be options. Said we could challenge it. Said there were laws about undue influence. About taking advantage of elderly people. About getting them to sign things they do not understand. But he said it would mean a legal fight. Said it would mean my son would have to answer questions in court. Said it would mean things would get worse before they got better. He asked if I had anywhere else I could stay while we figured things out. I thought about my sister in Colombia. We had not been close in years. Not since our mother died. Not since I got busy with my own life and forgot to call. Forgot to visit. Let the years pile up between us. But she always said her door was open. Even when we were not speaking much. Even when months went by without a call. She always ended our conversations the same way. You know where I am if you need me. I nodded. Told Mr. Brennan I thought my sister would take me in. He made some notes then. Wrote for a long time. Then he looked up and said he would look into everything. Said it might take time. Said I should be prepared. I asked him prepared for what? He said prepared for things to get uncomfortable. I told him things were already uncomfortable. When I got home that evening my son was sitting on the couch. Waiting. His arms crossed. His face tight. He asked where I had been. I told him I went to see my lawyer. His face changed. The color drained out of it. Then came back darker. He stood up fast. Too fast. like I had said something dangerous. He asked why. His voice was louder than I had heard it in years. I said I wanted to talk about the house. He said the house was his now. Said I knew that. Said I signed it over. Said if I had a problem with that, maybe I should think about other living arrangements. The way he said it. Other living arrangements. Like I was a tenant who had broken a rule. His wife came down the stairs then. She had been listening. I could tell by the way she was already smiling when she came into view. She said maybe it was time I went to a home anyway. Said I was getting too old to take care of myself. Said it right in front of him. Right to my face. Like she had been waiting for permission to say it. He did not tell her to stop. He did not tell her she was wrong. He just stood there looking at me like I had betrayed him. That is when I knew for certain. He was not the son I raised anymore. Or maybe he was and I just had not wanted to see it. Maybe I had been making excuses for years. Telling myself he was just busy. Just stressed. Just trying to keep his wife happy. Maybe I had been lying to myself because the truth was too hard. I went to my room and started packing. I did not have much. Most of my things had disappeared over the years. Donated to Goodwill when they cleaned out the basement. Thrown away when they redecorated the living room. Moved to storage when they needed more space. I filled 2 suitcases with clothes. Some photographs. My mother's Bible. A quilt my grandmother made. Things that were mine before this house. Before this family. Before everything got so tangled up. The next morning I called my sister. She answered on the first ring. Like she had been waiting. I told her everything. The glass. The insult. The lawyer. The packing. She cried. I could hear it in her voice even though she was trying to hide it. She said she would come get me that day. Said she should have come sooner. Said she knew something was wrong but did not want to interfere. I told her it was not her fault. She said she would be there in 2 hours. I waited on the porch with my suitcases. The morning was cool. The dogwood tree was in full bloom. White flowers covering every branch. It looked beautiful. I had spent 33 years watching that tree grow, and now I was leaving it behind. My son came outside once. He stood in the doorway looking at me. He asked if I was really leaving. I said yes. He said I was being dramatic. Said his wife did not mean it the way it sounded. Said I was too sensitive. Said I always took things the wrong way. I did not argue. What was the point? He had already decided what he believed. I just sat there looking at the street. Waiting. When my sister pulled up, she got out of the car fast. Ran up the walkway. Hugged me so hard I almost lost my balance. She was crying openly now. She looked at my son standing in the doorway and shook her head. She did not say anything to him. Just helped me put my bags in the trunk. As we drove away, I looked back at the house one last time. The garden I planted in 1993 was overgrown. The shutters needed painting. The mailbox was crooked. The roof was missing shingles on the left side. I had spent 33 years taking care of that house. And now I was leaving it behind. My sister reached over and squeezed my hand. She did not say anything. Just held on. Like she was afraid I might disappear if she let go. Columbia felt different. Quieter. My sister's house was small, but it was hers and she made space for me without making me feel like a burden. I slept in the guest room with the window open. At night I could hear the wind in the trees. The sound of cars passing on the highway. The hum of her refrigerator in the kitchen. It took me a week to stop listening for footsteps in the hallway. To stop tensing when I heard voices. To stop waiting for someone to tell me I was in the way. Mr. Brennan called me 2 weeks later. He said he found something. Said the quitclaim deed might not be valid. Said there was evidence of undue influence. Said my son had a financial motive, and I was vulnerable when I signed it. Said we could challenge it in court. I asked what that would mean. He said it would mean a legal fight. Said my son would have to answer questions under oath. Said there would be depositions, hearings, testimony. Said things would get worse before they got better. I thought about it for a long time. Days. Maybe a week. I thought about the house. Thought about my son. Thought about the version of him I used to know. The one who used to sit on the kitchen floor and help me sort recipes. Who cried at his father's funeral and held my hand through the whole service. Who brought me flowers on Mother's Day every year without fail. But then I thought about the way he stood in the hallway and said nothing when his wife called me useless. And I thought about the way he looked at me on the porch when I was leaving. Like I was the one who had done something wrong. I called Mr. Brennan back. Told him to file the papers. The legal process took 9 months. There were depositions where I had to sit in a conference room and answer questions while a woman typed everything I said. There were hearings where I had to sit in a courtroom and listen to my son's lawyer say I was confused, ungrateful, manipulative. My son hired his own lawyer, a man in an expensive suit who made me feel small every time he looked at me. They said I was bitter. Said I was trying to punish my son. Said the house was his and I was just upset because I did not like his wife. But the judge did not see it that way. The judge looked at the timeline. Looked at the fact that I had no independent legal advice when I signed. Looked at the fact that my son moved his wife in 3 weeks after the deed was transferred. Looked at the fact that I had paid the mortgage for 33 years. And my name was still on the utility bills. In February the judge ruled in my favor. Said the deed was voided. Said the house was mine again. My son did not speak to me after that. His wife sent me one text message. It said I would regret this. I deleted it. Mr. Brennan helped me arrange for them to move out. They had 60 days. They took 59. On the last day I drove back to Charlotte with my sister. We pulled up just as they were loading the last box into a truck. My son looked at me across the driveway. For a second I thought he might say something. Might apologize. Might explain. But he just got in the truck and drove away. I stood in the driveway for a while after they left. My sister asked if I was okay. I said I did not know yet. We went inside. The house was a mess. Holes in the walls where they had ripped things down. Stains on the carpet. The kitchen cabinets were hanging crooked. They had taken things that were not theirs. My mother. China. The clock from the mantel. A painting my husband bought me for our anniversary. But the house was still standing. The bones were still good. My sister helped me clean. We spent 2 weeks scrubbing and patching and repainting. She stayed with me the whole time. Said she was not leaving until the house felt like mine again. One afternoon we were in the kitchen, and I found the glass. The same one from that day. It was in the back of the cabinet. Chipped now on the rim. Like someone had dropped it and put it back anyway. I held it for a minute. Then I filled it with cold water from the tap. Drank it slowly. All of it. My sister asked what I was thinking about. I told her I was thinking about how strange it is that you can live in a house for 30 years and then feel like a stranger in it, and then fight to get it back and have to learn how to live in it all over again. She said that is what home is sometimes. A place you have to keep choosing. I have been back in the house for 8 months now. I repainted the living room a soft yellow. Planted new flowers in the garden. Bought a new mailbox. Fixed the heating vent in the kitchen. Patched the roof where the shingles were missing. I sit in my chair by the window and drink my water and watch the seasons change. My son has not called. I do not expect him to. Some people ask if I regret it. If I wish I had just stayed quiet and kept the peace. If I think about what I lost. I do think about it. I think about it often. But then I remember the feeling of sitting in my own living room and being called useless. I remember the sound of my son's footsteps walking away. I remember the weight of pretending everything was fine when I knew it was not. And I think about the morning I called Mr. Brennan. How scared I was. How small I felt. How my hands shook while I dialed his number. But I also remember how it felt to make that choice. To say out loud that I deserved better. To fight for the one thing I had left that was me. The house is quiet now. Some days it feels too quiet. I eat dinner alone. I watch television alone. I sit on the porch in the evenings and watch the dogwood tree, and remember when my husband and I planted it together. But when I sit in the kitchen in the mornings and drink my tea, I do not feel like I am disappearing anymore. I feel like I am still here. And that glass on the counter, the one I asked for water from that day, I keep it in the front of the cabinet now. I use it every morning. It is chipped and worn and not perfect, but it is mine.